Hello. Today I have the pleasure of introducing ancient Greek literature and authors. The works that you will see today have influenced Western culture for thousands of years through their continued translation and distribution. The first type of author that I'd like to discuss is philosophy, and you will not be surprised to know that Plato is central to this discussion. This is because he wrote about Socrates' philosophical dialogues. His most famous works are the Republic, which discusses what the ideal state should look like. In Plato's own words, it should have a philosopher king. He also wrote the Apology, which details Socrates' defense to the charge laid by his fellow citizens that he was corrupting the youth of Athens. They eventually sentenced him to death because of this charge and because of his radical thinking for the time. These works and his other teachings influenced Aristotle, who likewise became an important philosopher. The ancient Greek authors also had a very significant impact on the tragedy, or the development of a tragedy. The first author that we'll discuss is Aeschylus. He's called the father of tragedy, and he produced the Orestia, which is a trilogy about Agamemnon's son. Remember, Agamemnon is a central character in the Iliad, or in the Trojan War in general. The second author who I will discuss is Sophocles, who was never judged lower than second place in a dramatic contest. These were huge spectacles in ancient Greece, and many authors competed to have their works displayed at these events. He produced two different works about King Oedipus, the fallen king of Thebes. These were Oedipus the king, talking about his reign and downfall, and Oedipus at Colonus, which discusses the king near the end of his life and his eventual death. Sophocles also wrote another tragedy about King Oedipus's daughter and her eventual death. The last author that I'll discuss here is Euripides, who produced Medea, which is about the witch who is married to the Argonaut Jason. Jason, of course, was the famous mythological warrior who went on the adventure of the Golden Fleece. Euripides also wrote Hippolytus, which was about the tragic death of Theseus' son. The ancient Greek authors also had a significant impact on historical writing and historical prose. The first author that I will note here is Herodotus, who is often called the father of history. You will probably also note that this specific bust of Herodotus has become the logo for this channel. This is because there's a lot of historical content on here, and you can see all of that under the video column. He was the author of the Histories, which discusses the origins of the Persian Wars. The second author of note is Thucydides, who was the author of the history of the Peloponnesian War between Sparta and Athens. So one discusses a threat coming from the outside onto Greece and discussing that history, while another focuses on inter-Greek city-state warfare. Again, these sources are very important for us when we try to understand what was occurring millennia before us. Their writings and historical thinking models have influenced ours for thousands of years. This concludes a summary of the different types of Greek prose, Greek authors who wrote in those styles, and their most famous works. While everything couldn't be discussed, I hope that you understand why the ancient Greek civilization is really influential on the development of Western culture, and why a civilization like, say, Rome would want to borrow a few of these works for its own cultural development. Thank you for listening.